In the thinning light of the twilight zone, a giant bony fish patrols the slope.
Suspended between rock and open water, a giant squid waits in slow motion. Built to spend their paths cross without touching. Two very different giants reading the same currents for hints of where the next brief chance to eat will appear. From this height, their massive bodies are only tiny sparks along a ledge, clinging to the narrow zone where sunlight finally runs out of breath. Tiny lamps in its skin help it vanish into the background glow, turning a 3-meter hunter into another moving patch of sea instead of a clear target.
Down here, light is made by bodies, not by sun. Every weak each holds a preferred band of depth and angle, one hugging stone, the other roaming open water, together.
At the edge of the continental shelf, the world narrows to a thin, glowing ribbon, where enough.
For a few seconds, it spends days of stored energy, turning stillness into a torpedo aimed at the densest patch of soft silver in front of it. It harvests the panic stirred up by another's strike, spending far less energy to snatch the fugitives that stray into its reach. Hunting here is a shared operation, each giant shaping the movements of countless smaller bodies that in turn shape where the next opportunity will appear.
As night rises from below rather than falling from above, each mouth must decide whether to chase the last bright scratch. Every burst leaves a debt it must now sink, slow its heart and gills, and pay back.
With prey scattered and tired, both giants shrink their world to a small patch of slope, trading exploration for endurance. Push just a little too far from this ledge, and the twilight fades into a plain where even a 3-meter hunter can simply vanish from hunger.
From above comes another scale of hunger, one that reads this ledge not with eyes but with sound that reaches into stone and flesh alike.
The giant fish senses the rapid hammering in its bones and scales, a searchlight of sound passing over its outline, testing for twitching muscle.
From a distance, the hunt is just geometry.
It gambles that stillness and stone will make it look like part of the slope, rather than a mouthful worth turning for. The squid's answer is to become a drifting column, hiding its effort inside the same lazy sway as the jellies and plankton surrounding it. Now its search narrows, the sound pulses focused into a tighter cone that weighs the warmth and density of each shape hanging between rock and abyss. The geometry tightens into a line of attack, the whale committing its bulk to one decisive plunge along the same narrow path its smaller neighbors share for food. In a burst that shreds the quiet, the whale turns its patient geometry into force, jaws opening around a storm of arms and water. It spends another precious reserve to dive out of the cone of chaos, trading safe stillness for the chance not to be eaten by accident.
It buys escape with confusion and flesh, flooding the water with light and scent, while one overextended limb tears free in the whale's teeth.
Seen from the distance of the slope's face, the desperate movements blend into one brief flare of brightness before the dark closes around it again.
The price of one escape begins its own journey downward, a parcel of concentrated energy already attracting mouths much smaller than the ones that tore it free.
It carries away a new, stinging line of damage, a reminder carved into its flank that even
the great hunter leaves with less than it spent, swimming upward with a mouthful that will only partly repay the dive it took to reach this ledge.
In minutes, the violence becomes just another layer of snow sinking over.
What was once part of a single giant body is quickly broken down into dozens of smaller meals. It must rewrite its hunting pattern around the absence, learning how far it can still reach and how much more risk each strike now costs.
The roles are the same, but the details have shifted. Scars and missing lengths now shape the distances. On the scale of the slope, the recent chase is only a slight kink in the flow of bodies along the rock.
New mouths join the flow, newly hatched bodies climbing into the same risky ribbon of water that feeds and threatens the giants overhead.
For a moment they travel side by side, Two survivors whose futures now depend just as much on what they do not chase as on what they do.
Day after day, the same general pattern repeats with different details, each new scar and absence. From far enough away, the slope is only a crease where gravity, chemistry, and light allow life to